This past weekend, Captain Marvel hit theaters, and that makes it the 10th origin story inside the MCU. So today I'm going to rank all 10 of those movies from the worst to the best. Let's get into it. Before I give you guys my full thoughts, make sure to comment your list down below. How do these movies rank? Which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? Whatever you guys got, comment down below. We're going to go ahead and get started here right at number 10. And in last place is The Incredible Hulk. And I don't hate this movie. I find it actually really enjoyable at the end when the Hulk and Abomination, they clash, they go at it together. It's really enjoyable then, but the entire movie up to that point is so slow. It comes off as just boring, and I'm not the biggest fan as Edward Norton as my Hulk. And the love story between Edward Norton and Liv Tyler just doesn't really work, and the whole movie just seems kind of clunky, boring, and just doesn't really flow. Coming in at number 9 is Captain America, The First Avenger. And again, I don't hate this movie. I just don't buy the whole, I'm going on tour, I'm Captain America, I'm in a show. I don't enjoy that. I honestly find this movie very irritating during that point. When we get to the point of him getting into the action later in the movie, that's enjoyable. But what I really like about it is the beginning, seeing Steve Rogers as this little skinny kid who's got so much heart but doesn't have the physical attributes to be a soldier. And it shows him as he has so much heart and so much drive. He wants to be a soldier more than anything. He keeps getting rejected, then he becomes a superhuman, and then he goes on tour. That is the reason this movie doesn't really do it for me, and it's gonna get the number 9 spot. Coming in at number 8 is Thor, and this movie just doesn't really work for me on any level. You got some really good Asgardian characters to get introduced to, Loki, Heimdall, and all the Asgardians, and that's really interesting. But when he gets to Earth and he shows him kind of beating everyone up, of course he's gonna beat everyone up. He's a god. And then he's got a love story between Thor and Jane. You just don't really care about. The humor doesn't really land. The action itself is just kind of boring, and the entire movie just doesn't really flow, and the entire movie is kind of unforgettable. Next up at number 7 is Doctor Strange. And when I first saw this in the first 20 minutes, I was like, Doctor Strange is a doucher. Are you joking? He's this big, cocky guy who's got no mishaps with him being a doctor, and then shows him get humbled out, and then he goes back to kind of being a cocky guy. But I really enjoy this movie. The visuals are stunning. It's really interesting to see where Doctor Strange gets all of his powers from, how he has to learn everything, and when they do kaleidoscope thing, it is honestly just really enjoyable to watch. But this is just a movie I don't really want to watch all the time. It's not one I want to plug in and be like, yes, I'm gonna watch Doctor Strange. He's really good with a better cast around him, as is Thor. When they are surrounded by the Avengers, that's when they shine the best. But them in a solo movie doesn't really work for me. At number 6 is the new Marvel movie, and that is Captain Marvel. And there's certain things I really enjoyed about it, and certain things I just really didn't enjoy about it. Samuel L. Jackson is the best part of this movie, and the cat. The cat is a great cameo, and it really steals the whole movie. But Brie Larson herself just didn't really seem committed But Brie Larson herself didn't seem committed the whole movie. Certain times, yes, and other times you're like, you're not bringing it like I know she can bring it. Like when she won the Academy Award for Room, she didn't bring that A game during the entirety of this movie. When she did, it was awesome. Certain soundtracks they play, I'm Just a Girl during a fight scene, it kind of is distracting. But overall, this movie was definitely enjoyable, and I'm really excited what she's going to do in Avengers Endgame. I think she's going to be kind of like a Thor and Doctor Strange, where she's not the best in her own movies, but when she gets to be around a group of amazing people, that's when she's going to shine brightest. Coming in at number 5 was recently nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards, and that is Black Panther. And this isn't the first we got to see about him. We saw him in Civil War, but this is the first time we got to see what he's about, where he's really from, what he's going to bring to the table, and it is honestly a really enjoyable movie. Do I think it's Best Picture quality? No, I don't think any MCU fan does. Do I think it's the best MCU movie? No, I don't think any MCU fan does. But this movie's got a lot to like about it. It's got a better villain than the MCU's had over the years with Eric Killmonger. You know what he wants. He's very driven. We also have a side villain in Claw, Andy Serkis, and he's a really good side villain. We got really good action. We got a really good plot point. The score is amazing. That is the one Oscar I agree with for this movie is the score. It is fantastic. But as the movie goes on, you get more into this green screen background and more of the CGI that just kind of comes displeasing. You can really notice it. Because the whole first 3/4 of the movie, you're like, wow, this is really going really well. And then you get to the later part, you're like, what's happening? The CGI was hit and miss, but T'Challa, Black Panther, and his family are just a really likable bunch, and if they don't return in Endgame, I'm gonna lose it. Coming in at number 4 is Ant-Man, and this movie just caught me by surprise. I didn't see it for about 3 years after it came out, when I really started getting into Marvel movies, and when I was watching, I was like, this is awesome, because Scott Lang is a thief. That's how he got the suit. He stole it from Michael Douglas's house. That's what's so interesting to me. And it's got a great cast with Michael Douglas, a little bit of Evangeline Lilly. We got Michael Pena in there, and they all just mesh so well. And Paul Rudd is the obvious choice to play Scott Lang. He's funny, a great actor, and he really brings this role to life. All the drama in the movie, we got some good action, a really funny movie, and a really great storyline, and you really sneaks up on you. You're like, wow, that is a really good, and it's a really good movie, but it's also a very underrated movie. I think it's one of the most underrated movies in the entire MCU. Coming in at number 3 is Spider-Man Homecoming, and this is not the first we've seen of Spider-Man. We've had many movies before his, but this is the first we got to see is Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and he got introduced in Civil War. This is where we got to find out who he really is and what he's really about. I honestly love this movie. It's my favorite Spider-Man movie. Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man. He really plays that kid role well. He's gonna make mistakes. You tell him to do something, he's not gonna do it. You tell him to do this, he's gonna do the opposite. That's what teenagers are. They're really defiant and they try to help when they know they're not helping. They're making things worse. Tom Holland really captures that role, playing that young, kind of silly and dumb high school kid that most of us are. And that's why I love it so much. They have an amazing villain with Vulture. Michael Keaton plays a great. Tony Stark's not always in it, but when he is, it's very powerful. Zendaya's great, and Tom Holland's best friend Ned in the movie is all great. A very great supporting cast, an amazing high school storyline that really hits on the head and is very relatable, and I really love it. Coming in at number 2, my runner-up is Iron Man, and this is where the MCU all began, and everyone had their doubts. Robert Downey Jr. had such a drug addiction past. What's he gonna bring to this Iron Man role? He's gonna bring everything and more in a bag of chips, okay? He's absolutely, by far, the best character in the MCU. He's my favorite superhero, and this movie really works. And back in 2008, I watched it recently, and it still holds up 11 years later. The CGI does, the acting does, the storyline by sure does, and the origin story as a whole is absolutely fantastic. The character development is great, and Robert Downey Jr. absolutely annihilates this role. He embraces it. He is Tony Stark. The role as Tony Stark really put Robert Downey Jr. back on the map. He kills it. His wit, his humor, everything about him, and him as Iron Man is by far the perfect role. A very enjoyable movie, but there's only room for one, number 1, and in first place is Guardians of the Galaxy. And I guess this is the group origin story because it's not just an individual person, but these group is the most likable bunch of anyone. And then we got plugged into Infinity War, it really worked, and then we got a mini origin story for each of these characters. We basically got introduced to each one, we got to find out about their past, and all together they just work. Their chemistry intertwines, everything about it is amazing. They have a tree that only says I am Groot. A lot of skeptical things about this movie, but every single aspect of it worked. This is my second favorite MCU movie. You can find my ranking above my head. That's my second favorite one. This is my favorite origin story, and I love Guardians Volume 2, but Guardians 1 is absolutely amazing. Everyone is great. The cast is awesome. The soundtrack is unbelievable. The action and the humor all work so well. Comment your guys' list down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do me a favor and go see a movie, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!